Hello class, welcome to lab number 6, file globing or wildcards. Before we start working on this lab, I am gonna prepare my work environment. So I will open my home directory, CIS 106, the labs folder, and over here we're gonna click on new and we're gonna call this lab number 6. Okay, I'm gonna close that because that's when I'm gonna put all my pictures, and once I complete that, then we open VS Code. I suggest that you download this picture and put it in your GitHub repository. So I'm gonna click on cheat sheet here, and after this is downloaded, I'm gonna open a file manager, home, downloads, copy, actually cut, why not, yeah, cut it, and I'm gonna put it in my cheat sheets here. This is gonna be very handy for you later on, so make sure you have it over there, because you know this is not something you're gonna pick up on the first day. This is gonna take you a couple of tries and a lot of practice, so you might as well have this cheat sheet handy for you to use. With that said, let's get started. Before you start with this lab, make sure that you run this command over here, which is gonna prepare a folder for you to use for this lab. That folder is called lab number 6, and if you do an ls, you're gonna notice that we have a lab number 6 folder in our home directory, and inside the lab 6 folder we have a bunch of files that we're gonna use to have fun with. So let's clear our screen over here, and let's start with question number 1. I will not do every question in question 1. I'm just gonna do a couple of them to show you how it's done, and then I want you to use what you have learned so far to answer the rest. So let's start with question number 1. Question number 1 says, list all the configuration files in the etc directory. And as a hint, I gave you that configuration files are those who have the extension of .conf. So we're gonna do ls. And first, we're going to provide the directory that we want to list, which is etc, and the files in there needs to be conf file. So star, because the file name is irrelevant to us, what we care about is their extension, right? You press enter, and this is the output that you should see. Notice that every file in the output is a .conf file. Next, we're going to long list all the config files, right? But those who have who start with letter H or letter P. Then we're gonna modify that output so that it looks like this. So human readable file sizes, and it needs to show, okay, and human readable file sizes, showing the date, formatted like this, right? And I noticed that this output doesn't have the user and the group, so we should include that as well. Now I'm gonna go full screen real quick to show you something. I'm gonna open a new terminal on the side, and I'm gonna do ls help. Here we have all the options of the ls command that we can use. And the first thing that we should think about is the fact that they want us to do a long list, right? The output doesn't have users and groups. And from the previous lab, we learned, okay, that was terrible. Okay, there you go. From the previous lab, we learned that lowercase g and uppercase g allows us to suppress that from the output. So we're gonna do g, right? And then we need to make sure it has human readable file size, and that's option H. But we also need to sort it by file size. So that's option capital S. The option that you're not familiar with, because this is the first time that we see it, is modifying the output of the time. And that's done with time style. So we're gonna do time style equals, and then a plus sign. Then here we're gonna provide the modification string that allows us to manipulate how that time is displayed. Now, I know that for a fact you're not gonna know that from the top of your head. So I did a little list here that you can use as a cheat sheet to remember. The way that I want you to modify this is like this: month, date, and year, which is percentage and D. So we're gonna do here percentage and D, and then to end our command, we need to provide the directory that we're listing, etc, and finally the wildcard. So the particular files needs to start with letter H. So we're gonna provide letter H because that's a static. I don't care what's after letter H, but it must be a config file. Also, we want to include those that start with letter P. So we're gonna do etc letter P, the star wildcard, and that conf. And this is gonna certainly match anything that starts with letter P and it's a config file, and anything that starts with letter H and it's a config file. Let's press enter over here, and voila. Notice that the output here matches exactly the output over here, right? Look at every file and take a look at how the date looks like, which is pretty nice. Okay. Then I'm gonna let you do question 3, question 4, and yep, 3 and 4 you can do on your own. But question 5 I'm gonna do myself. I wanna show you how it's done. So here we're gonna create a folder called log files inside nkdir lab 6 log files. And what we wanna do is, let me go full screen real quick, open a new terminal, and I'm gonna cd into log files, into lab 6 ls. All these log files, we want to move them inside here. And to do that, it's quite simple. We do mv, right? Lab 6 star that log, and this is gonna match every file that ends in that log, and we're gonna move that to lab 6 log files. Press enter, and if we do the same ls command here, notice that all the log files have been moved to log files. I'm gonna close this because I only opened it to show you how it looks like, and that's about it. Number 3 and number 4, please do on your own. I'm gonna take a screenshot of my terminal over here. We're gonna save that as question 1.1, enter. Perfect. We're gonna move along then to do question number 2, the question mark wildcard. I'm gonna clear my screen so that I have a clean canvas. Okay, so for question number 2, part 1, we want to list all the files that are inside lab 6 that are hidden, right? But so if we do an ls command in lab number 6, notice that we have a bunch of files over here. However, my mistake, this is what we want. We have a bunch of hidden files over here. But this command not only shows hidden files, but it also shows all the other files as well, which we don't want. We want only what's hidden. And for that, we need to write a pattern that includes every file that starts with a period, has has 2 characters, 1 character after the period, and then nothing else after this, and then anything else after that. The reason why we need to do it with a wildcard is because if you do this, ls -a, and then show me everything that starts with a period, not only will it shows you, the problem with this is that this wildcard matches the parent directory, because the parent directory is 2 periods, so that doesn't work for us. What we want to do here is include every character that matches 1 period at the beginning of the name, 2 characters after that, and then we don't care about the rest. We don't care about the rest of the file name, right? So the period, 1 character, another character, and then I don't care about whatever else it's on the file name. Press enter over here, and notice that what we get is every single hidden file inside the lab 6 directory. Let's take a screenshot of this and save, and we're gonna call this question 2.1.png. Okay, now for number 2, we are going to list all the files that have a 2-letter file extension. So we're gonna do a clear ls -a lab number 6. Notice that we have a bunch of files here. Some have an extensions, others have 2 letters, 4 letters, 3 letters, you know, but we want only the ones that have 2, right? So ls -a lab number 6. I don't care about the name of the file. The name of the file can be anything, but the extension needs to have 2 characters, 1 and 2. Press enter, and notice that only those that have 2 characters match our description. Okay, so let's continue over here. List question 3, list all the files that start with letter H, have 1 letter after letter H, and then have the letters S and T. The rest of the file name is irrelevant. So this and this, I'm gonna let you figure it out on your own. Let's move along to question number 3. But before, I'm gonna take a screenshot of my solution here, save it, and call it question 2.2.png. Okay, so for this part over here, we're gonna list all the files that start with an uppercase letter, right? So we're gonna do ls, lab number 5, and there you go, sorry, my mistake. This is the one we're reading. All the files that start with an uppercase letter. Okay, so start with an uppercase letter, that would be A to C. And I'm assuming you read the presentation, you study, and you understand what these character sets mean. But if you didn't, stop the lab and go do it. Just, it's a requirement. Also, it's in the cheat sheet as well. After they have the uppercase letter in the beginning, we don't care about the rest. We don't care how many more characters are there. All we care is that the particular file starts with an uppercase letter. So that's it. Press enter, and notice that only 2 files meet our criteria. Now, let's expand this criteria by including also numbers. Let's run the same command again, but this time we're going to include 0 to 9, and that includes every digit in a decimal system. Press enter, and notice that we also have now 25 games, including with documents and expenses, because it starts with a number. Now, I'm going to let you do... Actually, no, I'm going to do number 3 as well. So, list all the files that have a number in the file name. So, that number can be at the beginning, it can be at the end, it can be in the middle. We don't care what it is. So, because of that, this is the most efficient way to do this. ls, lab number 6. I start at the beginning because it might have some characters at the beginning, but it might not. Then our particular character set in the middle. Then another start in the end because it could have characters after the number. Press enter, and notice that every single one of those files meet our criteria. With that said, I'm going to let you do number 4 on your own. Okay, so let's move along to question number 4, using brace expansion. Okay, we're going to do... Let me just take a screenshot of this because, these are my answers. And they are important. So we're going to go over here and answers are there. Save. And this is question 3.1. Enter. For question number 4, we're going to be using brace expansion. So I want you to create this particular folder. And since I assume that you reviewed the presentation already, I'm just going to move along and do it. So to make my life easy, I'm just going to cd into lab number 6. And I'm going to do mkdir -p because we're going to create in parent and child and children directory in a single command. So this is going to be wallpapers. Then inside here, we're going to create cars. And then inside cars, 3 more folders. And this is when we do our braces. 1080p, separated by a comma, no spaces, 2K, and 4K. Oh, comma, not a period. Press enter, and let's do a 3 command of the wallpapers directory. And voila. Let's take a screenshot of this. And let's save it as... Oh, sorry. There you go. That's much better. Print screen. And save. I'm going to save this as question 4.1. Now we're going to clear screen. And we're going to create the second one. So in this one, we have a little bit of a more complex folder, but it's still the same criteria, right? mkdir -p. Then this is the parent folder, assets. Then children 1, child 1, child 2. So we're going to do braces over here, images, and then video. But then inside video and images, notice that we have large, small, and large, small. So here we're going to create large and then small. Press enter, and let's do a tree of assets. Bingo. We're going to take a screenshot of this. And we're going to save it as question 4.2. Then we're going to do number 3. And I will let you do number 4 on your own. right? Number 4 is a lot more complex, but I'm going to explain it. I won't do it, but I'll explain it. Now, for number 3, we're going to run 2 commands here. The first command to create our directory structure. The third command to create these files over here. So let's clear the screen and let's do mkdir -p docs, and then we have books, but then we have one child, child 1 and child 2. So let's open and close braces, history, comma, and then math, right? Then inside each one of them we have fall and spring. So we're gonna do fall and then spring. Press enter and let's do a 3 of the docs directory. We have the folders, but we don't have the files. To create the files, we need to use the touch command, right? So notice that I am using the same directory structure, but in this case, I'm replacing the command with touch, and then in the end, I'm going to provide the name of the file, which is book.pdf. Notice that now, when I do the 3, I have exactly what I'm looking for. The book file was created successfully inside fall and inside spring. Let's take a screenshot of our terminal, save it, and let's do Q4.3. Now, for problem number 4, let's break it down a little. So we have the parent directory, which is research. Then we have books and we have magazines. Okay. mkdir, I'm probably going to end up doing it anyway because this one is complicated and I would rather have you guys see it all the way through. Let's do research, right? And then we have books and magazines. So this is our first books and magazines. Magazines. Right. Now here is the thing. Inside books, we have math and science. So what we can do here is backtrack a little bit and put a / right over here. And we can then open and close braces and expand this branch before this one. Then we can say, okay, math, comma, and then science. Then we're going to keep on expanding the same branch and provide another one. EPUB and PDF. Now we can do the same thing with magazines. / right before the closing brace, and then computers. Okay, hold on, because we have 3 folders here, right? So we're gonna do computers, running, and then video games. Perfect, but we're not done. Let's provide another path, which is fan-made and official. Open and close brace, fan-made, and then official. Press enter over here, and let's do a 3 command of research. Notice how we created 2 different directory trees, and we used a single command using brace expansion. Now, I will not ask you to create one this complicated in your final exam. I think it's unfair. But I wanted to demonstrate to you how efficient can the command line be. Okay, so finally, problem number 5. This here is other examples of how to use brace expansion, right? Let's take a screenshot of this. And let's do question 4.4. Okay, so for problem number 5, we are going to use brace expansion to... Okay, so unfortunately for this one, so create a directory in your home directory. Oh yeah, no, we can do it. So I'm going to do clear, and then I'm going to do create a directory in your home directory called lab 6 question 5. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I named it that way. That's interesting, but sure. Let's follow the instructions. mkdir lab 6 q5. Okay, and then from the root of the file system, create 3 files. Okay, so let's go to the root, and we're gonna do touch, and this is where lab 6. Oh, sorry. Lab 6 q5. But normally, before we introduce brace expansion, you would have to run 1, 2, either 3 commands or provide 3 paths here to complete this question. However, because we know that brace expansion can do this operation, we can simply do open and close brace, program.py, comma, people.csv, comma, and then data.xls. And notice that if I do a tree of the lab 6 directory, that lab 6q5, our files were created successfully, and this reduced the size of our command tremendously. Okay, so change your current working directory to the share directory. So cd user share. Create a directory inside lab 6q5 called movies, and then create 3 files in the movies directory. So okay, so mkdir lab 6q5 movies. And then over here, we're gonna create 3 files: movies.lst, marvel.txt, and disney.doc. Let's go home and let's replace this with touch. Okay. Now we can also remove all of these files from this directory using brace expansion. So let's do remove lab 6 q5, and here from this one we're gonna remove program.py, and we also want to remove people.csv, disney.doc, and finally marvel.txt. Oh, my mistake over here. Let me explain this mistake. This mistake happened because I ran this command first. This command that was erroneous. But this command is entirely erroneous because this file does exist. But these files don't exist because I didn't terminate the brace correctly in this example over here. I left one brace unterminated, and that was the problem. So let me fix that so that I can show you how it works. What we're gonna do is that we're gonna create that file one more time, and then let's run the command. Let's troubleshoot this and see where I made a mistake, and yep, I believe that the mistake is here. I don't think this will expand correctly. Yeah, no, this, I have to apologize, this is not going to expand correctly at all. So let's fix this. Yeah, that is correct. Let me create this movies. Nope. Let's take a look at what's inside the, what are you? Touch. Nope. Lab 6 Q5. Okay, I have movies. Okay, and then Inside movies, we have, okay, we have everything we need there. So let's do the remove command. So here we're gonna remove program.py, and then we're gonna remove lab 6, Q5, movies, and then in here we're gonna get rid of a specific files, and those files are people and Disney and Marvel. People that doc, sorry, that CSV, Disney that doc, and finally Marvel that txt. Not such a file directory. I probably made a typo when I created that file. Let's see. That file didn't exist. Okay, great. That's why this error message appeared, because the file didn't exist. But yeah, notice that I deleted 3 files from the movies directory, but I left only 1. That's about it. Let's take a screenshot of this as well. And this is question 4.5, and there you go. Challenge question. Now this one you will have to do on your own. What you're gonna do is you're gonna run this curl command, and you're gonna organize the files. Let me do clear, okay, and let's go cd. So you're gonna run this curl command, and that's just a simple script that's gonna create all the files that we need. You're gonna have this new folder over here. So if you do ls, you're gonna have this folder called challenge lab number 6. So we're gonna do cd challenge that number 6, and inside here you have a bunch of files. Your goal is to use Wildcards and Brace expansion to organize these files so that the folder will look like this when you run the tree command. So you're gonna put all your files inside audio, all your files that are documents inside docs, and inside images, and you need to create a folder called AAC, a folder called MP3, one docx, one PDF. The folder creation, you're gonna do it with Brace expansion. Then the moving of the files, you're gonna do it with Wildcards. Then you're gonna take a screenshot of the commands that you used to complete this, and finally a screenshot of the 3 commands showing that your folder has been organized. This, you're gonna have a similar question in your final exam. It's gonna be very similar to this one. Please, someone remind me next week to show you the actual answer of this question during the lecture, so that you can have it saved for yourself, because I'm not gonna do it during the video. I want you to actually, put some elbow grease into it. Try to figure it out on your own. And if you can't, do as much as you can, because that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna grade as much as you can if you couldn't complete it, right? At least the directory structure you should be able to do. Then, with that said, let's prepare our submission. So I'm gonna close this, and we're gonna go to Applications, Programming, and Visual Studio Code. Okay, and over here we are going to, here, File, Open Folder. Always make sure that you have the right folder open. I'm gonna close that. I'm gonna click on Labs, Lab number 6, and then New File, lab6.md. And over here we're gonna start with a font matter, but I am just gonna make my life easier. Okay, so this is lab number 6, Wildcards. Okay, and then question 1. For question 1, we have question 1.1. Okay, question 1.1. For question 2, we have question 2.1 and question 2.2. For question 3, we have only 1 question. For question 4, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and Okay, and there is no question 5 here, but there is a challenge question that you need to complete. So over here, put your challenge question and save your file. Let's do a preview to make sure everything is previewing correctly. And yes, everything is showing as I would expect it to show. Close, preview your formatting, perfectly fine. Right click, format document, right click, export to PDF. We are almost done. Finally, we're gonna do a Git Pull. I wanna make sure that everything is up to date. Git add period, Git commit -m lab 6 complete, and then Git push. Now we're gonna go to github.com, our repository over here, and lab number 6, and our markdown file. Don't forget, this is the URL that you have to give me. Everything is fine and dandy. Give me the URL and the PDF file, and you have successfully completed your assignment. I'll see you next week, and please do not forget to remind me to show you during class the solution to the challenge question for this lab. It's important that you have a good example because it's in the final.